Hey everybody, so I come back to get where I get my compost and stuff, and I've decided that I want to start putting wood chips in my pathways. But now that I've got down here, the wood chips were way pricier than I thought, and the woman that works behind the counter gave me some other options, and this is one of them. And I got to figure out what I want to do. So this is pine shavings, and I think she said I could get a whole trailer load for 20 bucks. So right here is the hardwood stuff, and they want $33 a yard for this. So for my trailer, that's like 66 bucks because I can probably get 2 yards. And this, you know, I'm not really that impressed with that, and I can get this same stuff for free if I go on into Little Rock. And this is option number 3, and this is this leaf mulch. And honestly, I'm liking the way that looks. I don't think that's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go over here and look, but it's mostly hardwood leaves. It's not a lot of pine needles and stuff. I see a lot of oak leaves and stuff in there. And this would be $20 for the entire trailer load. Well, it's 20 bucks worth. Kind of ridiculous amount of sawdust for 20 bucks, and I don't have a tarp because I didn't really have this planned out, because I didn't plan on getting sawdust. But yeah, maybe some of it will stay on there, hopefully.
We're gonna go ahead and put the tarp on it here.
We'll pull up and get it. Get on up there and do it up where we pull out.
Okay.
So finally got some stuff to work with and some time to get in the garden. Seen where I got this a few days ago, actually about 2 weeks ago. And yeah, things just haven't worked out like I wanted, but I do have some compost and what I'm going to use as mulch. Don't know how that's going to work yet, but I've got a lot of work to do today, and I finally got time to do it. And I'll show you some of what's going on in the garden. So basically, I've had to get in here and clean out the rows and scrape all of the weeds out of the middles. I had let it get pretty bad. And yeah, that looks pretty good now. You can see what looks like big weeds here. This is not weeds. And I haven't cleaned these out of the middles yet, but this is some Mizuna that was in this bed, and some of them kind of made it through the bed flip, and I didn't bother getting them out. But I've intentionally let these go to flower. This is just something more personal to me. I'm pretty big on the pollinators and trying to help them out, and since these are the first thing to bloom at the first of the season, pollinators really love them, and we have a problem with them around here. We just don't have many, probably because of some of the farming and stuff that goes on around with the herbicides and all that. And I also, on this bed, kind of the same thing, as I had the red mustard in there before, and after the bed flip, a few plants had made it, and I just sort of left them. And you know, that's where the kale and stuff came from over there, and I'll have to deal with that, but it wasn't hurting anything over the winter, and I was harvesting from this stuff. I still will, and if I have to take these out today, I'll just harvest what I can get out of them. So yeah, it wasn't hurting anything, but it's getting time now that some of this stuff is going to have to come out. And so you can see I do have some stuff going on the very outer beds. So this fall I planted that bed in garlic, the far bed, and also this fall I had extra garlic that I'd ordered for that bed, and I just planted it all the way down the center of this bed, and it looks really nice compared to the other. And a few weeks ago I planted some snow peas, and I still have weeds in these beds, more so this one. And yeah, I'm not really all that worried about these. These are low growing weeds, and mostly what I'm concerned with on the weed pressure is like where from this side the Bermuda grass comes in, tries to come in under the fence and up in here, and over there there's some Johnson grass that'll come through and some Bermuda over there. But to me, these are easy to deal with. Yeah, it'd be better if they're not there, but yeah, I'm just not worried about it. But I got really good germination on the peas, and I've got to get a trellis up. We're not going to do that today, but I got one row on each side. This is a bit of an experiment, showed that to you before. But what's going to happen today is hopefully I get this mulch down. I'm going to use these shavings. So what I'm worried about on the bed width and how the shapes have changed and the dimensions, and especially the pathways, the width of those, is these beds have eroded and shifted, and I don't know how good that's showing up, but there's a bed and there's a walkways, and I started out with really wide walkways, but I've got to get the dimensions on these right, and I'm gonna pair the two beds up. There's 4 beds total here. Let's try to make sense of this. So these 2 beds I want to be one pair, and these 2 beds I want to be one pair, because this fall I plan on putting poly low tunnels which will cover both of these, and you know, I can't have but a certain width. So going back and doing a little research on YouTube and the computer, I think I can have 2 30-inch beds, which I'll have here and here and there, but also the width of the bed needs to be 9 to 12 inches, so that when I put the hoops up, that it makes it to the outside of each bed. So that's the thinking behind that, and so I've got to get the tape out and do a little measuring and see what happens. So see what we got here. That's 89 inches. That's not gonna work. So this is what I came up with. First of all, this bed is planted, this one isn't. So I'm not gonna do anything to change this. I can't really without messing up my crop. And this one I can, you know, it's not gonna hurt anything. And 2, I really like this wide outside pathway, and if I was going to have the wider pathways, I would rather it be on the outsides, the far sides, and then between the 2 pairs of beds. I did the same thing over here, same story. This bed's already planted, so I don't want to move it, and I want to keep this wide pathway anyway. And this bed is not planted, so it's the one that's going to get moved. And it's pretty drastic. I really didn't do a good job on the start, and now I'm about to start paying for it. It's not that big of a deal, but I would have rather not had it happen. So this bed came out on 30 inches, so it hasn't shaped that much or changed shape that much. But this will be the edge of the existing bed, right where it is, and this will be the edge of that new bed coming over. So this bed that's right here will move over from here to here, and this will be the pathways. So let's just look, and I'll show you how much I'm gonna have to change this. So you can see the bamboo stakes. So bed, middle, bed, and then yeah, so that would leave a really huge middle there. Maybe I squeeze another bed in here, I don't know. Okay, so this is the mulch and this is phase one. So I like it. You come into the garden gate and chips all the way out. And I just did around the perimeters, like I said. Now this is really fine, dusty sawdust. I don't know how that's going to work, and it's also pine. So, you know, some people might not want to put that in their garden. Since it is really fine, it would be a big problem in a lot of people's gardens about it washing or blowing over into the beds. Now it might blow into the beds here, but I have the advantage this is a super flat garden, and I don't think that it would work otherwise. I don't think it would work. I think you'd have all this stuff would just wash right into the beds if you had any slope at all. But it is super flat here, so I got me a bed all the way around, or a pathway. Now I've got to do something with the inner parts of the garden. So basically I need to clean up these beds, clean the weeds and stuff out of them, which I kind of did, and get all this stuff out of the way so I can come in with the compost. And I'm going to harvest what I can off of this purple mustard, and that way it can be used. And ideally this Mizuna would be out of the way, but my little bumblebee friends or honeybees are really working hard, so yeah, I just can't take it down right now. I'll just leave them and work around it the best that I can. The purple mustards, by the way, if you leave them, they'll make a big pretty plant like this, like the Mizuna there with the flowers. Probably even prettier, but yeah, I got to get these out of the way. Same thing like you've probably seen me do in the past, just cutting the stalks, leaving the roots in the ground, and compost right over them. And probably not even going to use a tilfer this time. Probably just compost right over the top. So here's what's happening with the compost so far. I've got my string pulled, and where this string is over to that bed is the 10-inch walkway. Here's the pre-existing bed with the compost dumped right on top of it. I'm going to come back with the rake and bring that out even with the string. And the bed itself is probably only going to get a layer about that thick on top of it. But right here we have the walkway that was there between this bed and that bed, and dumped compost right on top. I just went around the Mizuna plants, no problem. And so, like I said, where the beds are, they'll have a layer about that thick of compost, not much, but that'll just come from the string flat over all the way over, and I'm gonna have to pull another string over here, and part of that pathway is going to disappear. So just finishing up the last wheelbarrow of compost. Got the trailer unloaded, and as you can see here, I haven't got it wrecked out, but I had a few wheelbarrows extra than what I thought I needed, so I just dumped them out here, and I'll rake it and make it a little bit thicker. I just wanted to get it off the trailer, and there wasn't enough to start any other project with it. So, and as you can see, the Mizuna plants are there, and the bees are working right along, right beside of me. Didn't seem to bother them too bad. Okay, so this is the end result. basically, you see where I just have a skinny 10-inch walkway there, which will eventually be filled in with wood chips just like these, but it's only 10 inches wide. And where this, what looks like one huge bed is, where the fresh compost is actually going to be a 30-inch, two 30-inch beds on the outsides, and there was so much room in between that I'm going to leave what will be a 40-inch bed. That's something that I want to start experimenting with. A lot of market gardeners have went to the wider beds and they're liking the results. So anyway, I know it was a long video. I'm glad you stuck in there with me if you did, and I appreciate it. Y'all be good. Bye.